That's the law. But go back to the former slide. Remember that the law says singular subject equals singular verb and plural subject equals plural verb. Now look at, to every rule there is an exception. Hello? In law, for lawyers, they will always say that to every rule there's an exception. The rule says thou shalt not do or kill, right? But you can kill somebody out of self-defense, and you call your lawyer. Your lawyer will say, my lord, talking to the judge, he will say, he did not kill because he wanted to kill. He killed in self-defense. So upon that, to the rule, thou shalt not kill, there is now an exception. So the law can hear. Now, I'm not saying you should go and kill, though. That's not what I mean. Now, the law says singular subject. I will say it 1,000,001 times before I leave this stage, because it's the stage that will help you. See, repetition is what they say is the law of deep and lasting impression. If you can keep repeating it, whatever it is you repeat all the time, you will know it. Is that true? The law says singular subject equals singular verb and plural subject equals plural verb. Now, I. Look at the I standing. Am I singular? I'm singular, right? So I'm supposed to take a singular verb. So you're supposed to say, I. What do we say? I am here. Okay, I'm supposed to say, I does. Because does is singular. Hello? Does is singular, right? How do you know a singular and a plural verb? See how you know a singular and a plural verb. The base of a word. See the way, go to the next slide. Let me show something. You see that word, observe, is in its base form. That's exactly, nothing is added, nothing is removed. Nothing is added, nothing is removed. This is basest form. This is the base word. Observe. Any word in its, any verb in its base form is in plural. But when I add s to it, it is singular. This is an operational law. You must know this. If I add s to any verb, it becomes singular verb. If I remove the s, that means I'll be leaving it in its basest form, the base, the way it is. That's a plural verb. You must know this. If you know it, you can see, this is where the challenge is. So, I, go back to the previous one. I is supposed to be I, because I is singular. It's supposed to be does now. Is it not? Hello, follow the rule first. I am singular, right? It's supposed to be does. Because the law says singular subject equals singular verb and plural subject. So I is singular. So it's supposed to be does. But in this case, it is I do. I is an exceptional case because I is singular but does not take a singular verb. I takes a plural verb. That's why at the marriage altar, we say I do. We don't say I does. Those days, I'm sorry I'm going to use the language to say this. Those days, and I don't know why, people who are not learned are very good at picking wrong expressions. I don't know if you're aware of that. People who don't know English so well, they are good to know that you've just spoken rubbish. Those days, I lived with an Ngwa man somewhere. One day, he did not go to, he was a shell contractor, but did not experience the four walls of a higher institution. So unfortunately. Now, do you know, but very good, mentally sound. Do you know, this man had his younger brother come into the house. He said, "Day, I does not like it. I does not like that thing. Please don't do it again. I does not like it." our uncle heard it and called me. I'm going to speak in the language you may not understand, but I will explain. He now said, Enya, kila de gunda si I does not like. Abuno tu na leje la so ha. Okwe mo nyeta agota fo I does not. Ama miao, but I know I didn't know. I've not heard this. About na leje la so ha. Am li mu diki wa idea. About na. Ma say de o. About leje la so ha. La won oto kwesiri se, won kwesiri se bo I do. Obo I does. Yes me he. Obo wa alam ka, alam feel lo about leje la so ha. I said okay. Because he was expecting that this person is learned. He trained him in school. So he expected that he should know the rule. Now, how did he know that it is not I does not? That is wrong. Ask him what is right. He doesn't know. But they are quick at knowing what is what? Wrong. So you say I do. What does it simply mean? It means that I is singular but does not take a singular verb. It takes a plural verb. So you say I do. That's why you say I understand. You don't say I understand. Is somebody getting what I'm saying? Now look at you. The same thing is applicable to you. You is singular but does not take a singular verb. That's why we say you alone are worthy, Lord, to be praised and adored. You alone are. So why don't you say you is worthy? These are the things you should ask yourself. So you say you is singular, but it does not take a singular verb. Now we'll go to this. This is the only person who is singular and takes a singular verb. The third person. He. That's why you say he comes. But he comes to our house all the time. He comes. He eats. He brings. He steals. He cooks. He writes. Are we following? Now, she, the same is applicable. Eats, the same is applicable. Now, but when we go to the plural persons, everything there is plural. Plural, plural. All of them obey. As a matter of fact, all of these things take plural verb except the third person. This is what you must know. All of it, all of the persons go with plural verb except the third person. This is an operational law you must know in grammar. Somebody, you just told me this morning you're a linguist. I'm sure you're following what I'm saying. Hello? Are we there? How many of us are understanding what we're doing this morning? Are we following? Is it making any sense? Now, let's go to the next slide. So this is a law. You must know this law. Must. You just must know that operational law. Now, we were taught singular and plural subject, e.g., but we're not taught the singular and plural verbs. So you must ask yourself, so what's the next slide? Look at this. Emeka comes to our house every day. Emeka, Eze, and Ada. Now, Emeka, Eze, and Ada. Who can tell me in this context where Emeka, Eze, and Ada will be placed in that table of first person, second person, and third person? Singular and plural. So, Emeka, Eze, and Ada. What one particular word can take their position? Beautiful. They. Come, they. Plural. Come, plural. Agreement. So you say, they come to our house daily. But he comes to our house daily. Does it make sense? Does it make any sense? Emeka, Eze, and Ada. 3 persons. If we go, that's why I said, go back to the slide. Go back to the previous slide. Go back again. That's why I said, pay attention to this. Look at that day. When he is plural, Emeka, Eze and Ada. How many persons? 3. It will no longer, because I don't want to repeat, I want to avoid repetition, I will now say they. It becomes plural. So they. Remember that the law says singular subject equals singular verb and plural subject equals plural verb. So you say Emeka, Eze, and Ada, representing that they can take care of that to avoid long stories. That's long story called short. So you say they come to our house. How often? Daily. What part of speech in that expression is an adverb? Adverb. They come to our house daily. What part of speech in that expression is an adverb? Daily. Telling us how they come, the verb is done. These are things you must take cognizance of. You must be interested at knowing if you must speak accurately. And you know what? The way you speak introduces you. Hello. Make no mistakes about this. The way you speak introduces you. Especially when you find yourself within the context of the corporate world. We are in a corporate world. Most things are done corporately. When you enter the bank, the way you introduce yourself determines how big the response will be. Hello? Has it occurred to you that you entered the bank one day and you're asking for something and somebody just walks in and gives, please, hello, please can I talk to the manager? And the person who is serving thinks, I want to attend to this person. No, somehow, she didn't do it because she wanted to. She just feels this person has to be attended to right now. And it's immediate. Now, quality fatherhood is gift. Is a gift. Okay. Quality fatherhood is a gift. A is omitted there. Quality fatherhood is a gift fathers give to their what? Children. The first question you will ask yourself, what is the subject of the sentence? This second sentence, what is the subject in this sentence? follow you are the people who think that you're making the most impression. That guy, ride on. Ride on. If you are speaking on stage, how does it feel to you when you are standing? Please, I want to drop the microphone at this moment. And everybody said, no. How does it make you feel? You feel like Joe Biden. You feel like somebody is what? Talking. Are we following? So that's just that. So that's the second one. Okay, let's look at the third sentence. Beans and plantain is my favorite meal. Some people say favorite. Hello? We say favorite. Is it not? It's pronounced favorite, not favorite. But all of this we are going to do in phonetics. It's one thing to know how to speak good English. It's another thing to know how. It's one thing to know how it is written. It's another thing to know how best it should be pronounced. You know, a lot of people, when they look up, you see, you don't say, we want to find a word in the dictionary. Let me find the meaning of this word. You say, I want to look up this word. When we look up a word in the dictionary, do you know so many people are restricted to the meaning? Do you know? When you're looking for a word, you're looking up a word in the dictionary. Most of the times, people they're interested at the meaning. Do you know, you're supposed to see how best that word should be pronounced. Because most words are not pronounced the way they are written. Go to that place where they wrote liar. Just move up. Let me show. Go, not backwards. Go forward, okay? Hold on. Go back. Go back. Everybody watch. What's this? Fire. Everybody say fire. What's the second one? Higher. Say higher. What's the third one? Via. That thing is not via. It's pronounced via. Are we following? Don't worry. Let me patronize you. You can still say via. No problem. Are you there? If you say via, you're not wrong. But via. Now, look at the other one. What's it? Liar. That guy is a liar. You're a Brazil liar. You're a continental liar. You are a pathological liar. It's not you I'm referring to. Now, what's the last one? Tire. Can you look at all these words? Can I tell you? They don't look alike in writing. Look at them. Do they look alike? But they have what is called diphthong. Diphthong. No, not diphthong. They have what is called triphthong. I won't teach you that. It's not why we are here. There's something called triphthong in phonetics. All of them have what? Aya. Aya. This is not what we are showcasing. It's wrong. This is not interpretation. I don't have a board. I would have shown you what it should be. This is not what I wrote, but I didn't have time to edit it. This is not how it is written. So all this, they are wrong. It's not how it is written. There's something called homographic. Graphic is writing. Are we okay? But phonic is what? Sound. So when you are interested at graphics, how it is written, you also need to be interested at how they are pronounced. Are we following? So the writing is right. This one is not the way it should be. But what I'm trying to say is that all of them have the same recurring sound. Aya, 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 aya. Yet they are written differently. Have you seen why I say English is what? Dynamic. Have you seen why you must take cognizance of what we are saying? Are we still following? Hello? Okay, so back to what I was saying. Beans and plantain is my favorite meal. Now, beans and plantain, what's the subject of that sentence? What's the subject? Beans and plantain Is it supposed to be beans and plantain are my favorite meal, or beans and plantain is my favorite meal? There is fire on the mountain. Yes? What? Is. Are you saying is? But you have beans and plantain. Why is? And. No, now. Beans and. That's two. They are referring to two things. Beans and two different foods. So are we supposed to say beans and plantain are my favorite meal, but this time it will not become meals? Or do we say beans and plantain is my favorite meal? What? Is. Why is? Because they are together. Okay. Yes. Because the food, when we add beans to the rice, it becomes one food. Much as you are mixing, but it now becomes a particular meal. Beans and plantain. There are people here, seated here, they are listening to me. Their favorite is beans and plantain. Just give them beans and plantain, the world will be beautiful. Hello? Do I have a witness in the house? Now, back to where we were. Okay, so beans and plantain here, in this regard, is singular. The subject of this sentence is singular. That's a particular law of concord you must know. Now, love and forgiveness are great virtues. Look at it, love. Say love. It's not love. I love you. That's not how it's pronounced. We say I love you. I love you. Everybody say, I love you. Say, love. Love. I love you. That's how it is said. And it becomes romantic to the ear. Now, love and forgiveness are great virtues. Now, these words, two words, are they singular or plural? The first question. What is the subject of this sentence? What's the subject? What's the subject of this sentence? No, we've gone past beans and plantain. We are number C. We are number C. Love and forgiveness. What's the subject of that sentence? You must know the subject of a sentence. If you know the subject of the sentence, the next thing is, you now know, is the subject of the sentence singular or plural? Very important. Yes. Now, so in this sentence, this plural, what's the subject of this sentence? Beautiful. Love and what? Forgiveness. Are we supposed to treat the subject of the sentence as singular or plural? Plural, because there are two concepts. They are two virtues. So, love and forgiveness are great. That's why you have virtues there. So, love and forgiveness, plural, are plural. Virtues, plural. So there can be an agreement. That's the law of concord. Is somebody confused? Is it simple? Hello? If you know it's difficult, don't be ashamed. Just put up your hand. Is it difficult? Is it confusing? I should recap. Okay, you're begging my pardon. Now see, when you say, remember the law. That's why I said pay attention to the original law I taught you. The law says singular subject equals singular verb. And plural subject equals plural. You must know when the verb is in singular and when it's in plural. You just must know. Are we following? And I taught you that when a particular word is in its base form, the way it is, without any addition or subtraction, if it's a verb, that's plural verb. But if we just add s, it becomes singular verb. So come is plural verb, but comes is singular verb. Give is plural verb, but gives is plural verb, but gives is singular verb. Do is plural verb, but does is a singular. You must relate it to every verb you want to use in any speech at every particular time. At any point in time, this is the law. Are we following? Hello? Are we still there? Now, the rich, this is another law. So do you understand now? Love and forgiveness are two things. That's why we said are. So plural, we say are. I is plural. We didn't say is. If it had been love alone, we say love is a great, I will put a great virtue. But if I say love and forgiveness, I will now say are great virtues. Is that simple now? Do you understand it? Now, look at the D. The rich keeps getting richer. The rich keeps getting richer. The poor keeps getting poorer. Is that a correct sentence? Is that correct? Let me not waste our time. Every time you hear the rich, it is talking about all the rich people. So you must treat it as a plural subject. You must give it a plural verb. So the rich is plural. So you will not say, so are we supposed to say the rich keeps? Somebody said no. Someone said no, right? Why? No, go ahead. Feel free. You could be correct. Because keeps is singular and the rich is plural. So there is no agreement. The rich talks about all the rich people. So we will treat it as singular, as plural, not as singular. So if I say the rich, I will look for a plural verb. The Lord says singular subject, the rich equals singular verb. Now the rich is what? Plural subject here. And it must equal or collocate with a plural verb. And if I add s, it is no longer a plural verb. But if I remove the s, I will now have the rich keep getting richer. The poor keep getting poorer. That's correct grammar. So you must treat the rich as a plural subject. The broken, like in preaching, when a pastor is talking, he will say the broken-hearted. Every time the pastor says the broken-hearted, he's referring to all the people that are broken-hearted, not just one person. The broken-hearted are in our midst. You can also refer to the broken-hearted as a person. But when you say the, like you say the rich, the poor, the good, the bad, is referring to all the people in that particular way. So you must treat it as a plural subject and give it a plural verb. Are we following? Go to the next slide. You should have a healthy mastery of the above. Okay, go ahead. We have done that. No, go back. Everybody look at this. This is another reason people speak wrong English. If you can do this text, this particular exercise, if you can do it, you can speak well. We drink. It reflects to that law again. We drink. You can't say we drinks. We is plural. Drink is plural. So there's an agreement. But if you say we is plural, you say drinks is singular. And the Lord says singular must equal singular. verb, a plural subject, participle, plural verb. So we drink. Now, what is the past tense of this? Look at other examples and give us what should be there. So the past tense. Now go to the past perfect tense. Look at use the example there and give me the answer. No, you can't say withdraw. Look at it critically. See what is there. Look at it. Look at the projector. Yes. We had. People don't say this word, but that is the right English. Just like in choir those days in choir, we will bring out a song we want to sing. Somebody will say, but we have sang this song before now. Hello, can you remember? Can you follow? Do you know you're not supposed to say, but we have sang this song before? Do you know what it's supposed to be? We have sung this song before. How does it sound? But remember that the song you're talking about is the S-U-N-G, which is the past participle of sang. Every time you have has, have, or had, the verb that is coming, that is following, must be in past participle. That's why we say, I have done it. You can't say, I have did it. I have did it. One man wanted to speak someday. In the past, they asked him, did you do it? He said, if I did it, then I did it. If I didn't did it, then I didn't did it. And people started laughing. He didn't know what to say. So that was his best bet. He was looking for an escape route. So we drink, we drank, we had drunk. Are you there? Look at the next one. So eat. Is it singular? You see that original law, that initial law, that operational law I taught you. If you don't know it, you can't answer this. Are we still following? Look at it. So what will be here? Remember, what's there? It grew. So what should be here? It grows, because it is what? Singular. Grows is what? Singular. There's an agreement. It grows. So it grew in the past. It all. It had grown. It had grown. That's the past participle. That's exactly what it should be. It had grown. Now look at the next one. What's the next one? Paul. Paul, why did they use your name here? Paul. Paul what? Sinks. Paul sinks. Paul sinks. Paul sinks. Paul sang. The past tense. So what will be the next one? Paul had sung. Wow. How foolish it sounds. Does it sound nice? But that's the correct English. That's exactly what it should be. And let me tell you, in the ears of the learned, they don't care how it sounds. What they want to hear is what correct. What is the most correct thing to say? Now, what's the number 5? She fights. She, singular or plural? Singular. Fights, singular or plural? Singular. So she fights. What's the past tense? She fought. What's the past participle? She had fought. She had fought again, no? She had fought. Now, what's the next? The sun. So what will be here? The sun rises. The sun is what? Singular. So you will say rises. Now, the sun rose. What's the past participle? The sun had risen. Are we following? This past perfect too. Now, what's the next one? What's the next one? So what should be here? So what should be here? Beautiful. Every time you see all, it takes a singular verb. Hello? This is another law you must take cognizance of. Because you will tell yourself now, all is plural. This one is an exception. If you see all, that's why they say all that glitters, all that glitters. They don't say, ah, no go. Now, so you have, what do you have there? All begins. Let everything begin. That's what it means. Now, that's what exactly it means. Now, all begins. What will be here? All began. So what will now be there? All had begun. Present tense, past participle. So number 8. They, singular or plural? Plural. So they. Right. Is it correct? Is it correct? Why is it correct? Do you know what I want to hear? Based on what I have taught you so far. That the subject is plural, so the verb must be plural. And how do you know a plural verb? When you don't have S. When it's on the basis form. The form has no, the verb has nothing attached to it. So it is in each word plural sense. So they, plural, write, plural. So they write. So what will you have there? They wrote. So what will be there at the extreme? The past perfect tense. They had written. So where you're supposed to use the word written and you use wrote, there's fire on the mountain. Go to the next slide, please. What do you make out of these two similar sentences as it pertains to their difference? He thinks less of himself. If I say he thinks less of himself, what does it mean? Selflessness. That guy thinks less of himself. Selflessness. He's selfless. But you know, some people will think that when you say he thinks himself less, that is the same thing. Don't they seem the same? Look at what I said. Don't they seem? I did not say don't they seem. Is somebody following now? The Lord says singular subject equals singular verb and plural subject equals plural verb. You must know this law. It's a rule. That law is an operational rule. Now, he thinks less of himself is selflessness. He doesn't think himself arrogant. He's not arrogant. He's not prideful. But when you say he thinks himself less, that's low self-esteem. There are two different expressions. Although they sound alike, but they are not. What's the next slide? What's the next slide? We were told that the verb is an action word or a doing word. Is that true? In the definition we were given, the verb is an action or a doing. Okay? Now, my mother cooks pretty well. Do you also agree that the verb is an action or a doing word? Do you agree it's true? Is it true? There's nothing wrong in that. It's true. But all I'm here to tell you today is that that is not all that the verb is. That is not all that the verb is. There is more to the verb than being an action or a doing word. For instance, if I say, Jerry is here. I use myself as an example now. Jerry is here. That's a complete sentence. Every sentence that has a finite verb is a complete sentence. Does it have a verb? That sentence, Jerry is here, does it have a verb? What's the verb? Is. Okay? So it's complete and it's accurate, it's complete, it's meaningful, it's thoughtful, it's sensible. Now, Jerry is here. Is there any iota of action in is being here? Am I shaking my body? Any action? Jerry is here. Any action? Is there any action? Is there anything that informs action? Jerry is here. Any action? Is a verb, yet is not an action verb. It's not an action word. So if you say that the verb is an action or a doing word, you are correct, but you're not holistic. You're not taking into consideration all that the verb is. So, the verb is that part of speech that shows action, mood, or state of being. Is simply a state of being. Jerry is. It's a state of being. So state of being is also a verb. So this is what we were taught in informative stage in school, because they thought if they had given you the full definition, your brain was not so developed enough to carry. So they gave you the one that you can understand. And this is the reason a lot of people are speaking wrongly. So my mother, say mother. Say mother. She's my mother. My mother cooks pretty well. She cooks pretty well. Action. My father, say father. 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 My father works very hard every day. He works very hard every day. Now look at it. Arinze is here. Just like I have given us an example. So, Chiamaka resembles, looks like her father. Look at Chiamaka, look at the father. Chiamaka looks like. Two of them, look at the father. Let's assume, for instance, our daddy here is the father of Chiamaka. Chiamaka, look at him. Sir, please, can you look at Chiamaka? So we can now say Chiamaka looks like. Is there any, don't smile, don't move your face, just stay still. Is there any element of action in both of them looking like each other? Any action? So can you see that the word looks or resembles is a verb, but not an action word? These are the intricacies. These are the little things that look as though they don't matter, but they are the things you must know. Bill Gates has so much money. He has so much. Now, has. Is there any action in that word? Has. Is there anything shaking? Any action? Go to the next slide. So did you understand what the impression I'm trying to make? That the verb is an action word. That's correct. But that's not all that the verb is. The verb is that part of speech that shows action, mood, or state of being. That word is, has, looks like, resembles. They are all state of being. States. The state of somebody's existence. State is, where, location is. Spell these words accurately without missing a word. If you know that you're here, and every time you want to spell committee, this is spelling. Tell yourself the truth. Can you spell committee? That's the spelling of occasion. Say occasion. Can you spell it? Look at the next one. Pyrrhic. Do you know the meaning of that word, pyrrhic? Pyrrhic. You're fighting with. Have you heard the word Pyrrhic victory? Pyrrhic victory. Have you? You're fighting with somebody. the person had to beat you blue black. After beating you, you now turned him upside down. And the observers now said you won. But he beat you, he had beaten you blue black already. That kind of victory, you see what it? When you have a victory, but your leg is no longer there. A part of your arm is no longer there. That's what we mean when we say Pyrrhic victory. The kind of victory that is not worth it. That's the meaning of this word. Pyrrhic victory. Now, pneumonia. That's the spelling. In your widest thoughts, does it look like this is the spelling of pneumonia? If we ask you to spell pneumonia. Now look at that one, catarrh. That thick, milky substance that gushes out of your nose when there's a problem inside your body. Catarrh. That's the spelling. What topic are we dealing with? English is what? Dynamic. That's what we're trying to bring out. Now, Massachusetts. That's a state in US. Is it US or UK? Hello. I have people using their phone here. Massachusetts is a city in where? Is it in the United States or in the UK? It's a city. Google your phone. I will not answer that. I'd like to hear from you. Massachusetts is a city. Is it in the United States or in UK, United Kingdom? Find that out and tell me. That's the spelling of Massachusetts. That's the impression I'm trying to bring out. So ordinarily, if you're asked to spell Massachusetts, somebody, let's say your brother, asked you to do something, write something, and you want to spell the city in which your brother resides, and you're to spell Massachusetts. In your widest imagination, tell me the truth. Would you have imagined that this is the spelling of Massachusetts? Now look at orthopedic. Orthopedic hospital. Yes. I know. Orthopedics. What's the British? Spell the British for me. Okay, you're saying that Massachusetts is in the US. Okay. Please clap for them. That's what we use our phones to do. You ask something you don't know, you consult your phone. That's one of the uses of Android phone. Hello? That's what shows that we are that you are a digital immigrant. Now, look at psychiatrists. Somebody who cures mad people. We call them psychiatrists or a psychiatric doctor. So, look at the spelling. Is it normal? The spelling, is it normal? That's the impression I'm bringing out. It's not normal. Now, look at work and walk. If we have a blackboard, right now, I would have shown you how the both of them are pronounced. The first one is pronounced work. Somebody say work. I want to work. But the other one is pronounced walk. Walk. Are we following? Now look at, listen. Can you pronounce these words? Listen. Pronounce it. Listen, my friend. I'm talking to you. Listen to me. Is wrong. You say, listen. Sometimes, most unfortunately, the person you're scolding knows you're wrong. And in his heart, he'll be laughing. This guy is shouting. He doesn't know that he's not listening. That he's supposed to be listening. I was listening when he said. You listen. You don't say often. Often. You say often. Oftentimes. You don't put the T silent. They are called voiceless letters. They are voiceless. Now, look at that. Democracy. Say democracy. Democracy. It's not democracy. Why do you pronounce democracy? Because you look at the meaning. You're interested. You restrict your interest at the meaning. But you don't check how it can be pronounced. Why? Because you're not lettered in phonetics. It's there, but it doesn't make meaning to you. So you have to be communicated, you have to be taught. It should be pronounced. Now, what's that? The next one. Okay. Is what? Return. Return or return. It's pronounced return. How many of you listen to Orenze? Is that Victoria Orenze? When she was trying to make a statement and she said, the return. Well, that song she sang, oh Lord, set my heart on fire for you. She was making some comments and she used the word return. You should listen to how she pronounced it. She said, return. Why? I learned she's from Ghana. Is it true? Is she a Ghanaian? Either that she's from Ghana or she was brought up from there, something like that. But that's Ghanaian. You know, Ghanaians speak. We were colonized by the same Britain. But they speak better than us. What happened? That's embarrassing. So you count it prodigal. But that's what it sounds like. Hello? We should be pronouncing like the people. Now see, it's pronounced return. Everyone say return. The other one is what? Nurse. 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 Somebody is a nurse. Nurse. Please come and attend to my father. Not nurse. 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 Oh. It's pronounced nurse. Please. Now, the next one is what? Come here. Come here. Somebody say, come here. It's not come. Please come. Please come. Please come and sit here. Now, you look at that, the next word. The first day I saw that word written somewhere, do you know what I pronounced it as? Recipe. That was how I pronounced it. That's how a layman, not ordinarily, that's what you should pronounce. Or recipe. Is it not? But that thing is pronounced recipe. Have you heard somebody pronounce it as recipe? The person pronouncing it is the person who is informed, who knows the right pronunciation. It's pronounced recipe. The ingredients you use. Some people say ingredients. Ingredients. When I hear that, I ask myself, where did they get that from? It's pronounced ingredients, not G, not gents. Are we following? Recipe. That thing is pronounced visit. Is Z you're pronouncing? The Z sound. Visit, not visit. That thing is pronounced visitation. The visitation. Visitation. Say visitation. Say visit. Visit. That's how it's pronounced. Not visit. It's not S sound. You have there. Use your dictionary. That's what you find. That thing, if you look at it, you pronounce wrong final. That thing is finale. Grand finale. That's why somebody will say, what's the rationale? When you have rationale and there's E, rationale, it becomes a different thing. But that's not, I think it's not English word. It's co-opted into English word. English grammar. Is it French? Yes, it's French. It's co-opted. There are certain words. You must know the words that are co-opted from French to English. So borrowed from. These are things you must know. Go to the next slide, sir. How do you know if a sentence is complete? Is it by the length of the sentence? Look at these sentences. How can you judge if these sentences are complete? Somebody say complete. Say complete. Say correct. Not correct. It is pronounced correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Not correct. Are we following? Now, Dr. Wankwo is around. That's a complete sentence. Is around. Now, the boy who stole our property. These are sentences of varying magnitude. A sentence, the completeness of a sentence is not in the number of words. There are questions you must ask yourself. What are those questions? A sentence is divided into two divisions. What and what? A sentence is divided into subject and predicate. Somebody say subject and predicate. What is the subject of a sentence? The subject of a sentence is that part of the sentence that is being talked about, or the part of the sentence that is discussed. If I say, Emeka, when we said love and forgiveness are what? Are what? Great virtues. Right? Right? That's complete. That's a complete sentence. So when we say the subject of a sentence, what are we in that sentence? What were we talking about? Love and forgiveness are great virtues. What is it we were discussing in that sentence? That's the subject of the sentence. Are we following? What is the predicate? Every other thing in that sentence talking about love and forgiveness, which is the subject. Are we following? You must know what the subject and the predicate is. That every sentence is divided into two distinctive divisions. Two divisions. One is the subject of a sentence. What is the subject of a sentence? That part of the sentence that is discussed, or that thing we are talking about, is the subject. What is the predicate? The predicate is every other thing in the sentence that is being talked about. That is everything in the sentence talking about the subject. Are we following? If you look at the first, Dr. Wankwo is around. What are we discussing? Dr. Wankwo. What's the verb? Is. Now, what's the predicate in that sentence? Is around. She understands it. Is around. In that sentence, only is around. Talk about, those are the two words that talk about Dr. Wankwo. So, they are the predicate in that sentence. The boy who stole our properties got arrested on his way to Lagos. The boy, comma, there should be comma there. So, if I remove who stole our properties, that's a clause. That's a clause. So we should have comma here. The boy, comma, who stole our properties, comma, got arrested on his way to Lagos. Now, the boy. What's the subject of that sentence? The boy. So let's remove who stole our properties. What we'll have is the boy got arrested on his way to Lagos. That's where, when we go into deeply, that's where you will see what they call dependent and independent clauses. Phrases and clauses. If we go into that, that's where we begin to. Now, if you fail to plan for the future, then you have planned to fail your generation. That you do not know it does not make any difference. Do you know that this is a sentence? But there's the kind of sentence this is. Are we following? To err is human. To forgive is divine. This is what we refer to as two clauses of equal ranking. It's called double sentence. Two clauses. These two clauses, do you know if you separate one, if you say to err is human, the sentence is not complete. You've just made a clause. But if you say to forgive is divine, to err is human. That's why sometimes you say to err is human. And that person somewhere at the other point will say, and to forgive is divine. Just to complete it. Are we there? What's the next slide, please? Common knowledge. Consider the words and their usage. For instance, so many years back, a bishop and I, we were in a discussion. And the man said, of the blessed memory too, Fidel Obasi, he said that they attended a meeting and there was an argument. So they said, that we have voracious eater. That he was asking me, is it voracious eater? I said, sir, it's supposed to be voracious reader. Hello, are you following? The word voracious means somebody who can eat volubly, eat so much. Voracious, he can take in so much at a time, or eating so much. So when you say voracious, he eats. A voracious is someone that eats well. He can eat 2 plates at a time, no problem. Voracious eater. So he said voracious eater, and I said voracious reader. So we're in an argument, a bit of an argument. And we now brought the dictionary to consult to know who was correct. We suddenly discovered that both voracious eater are correct. Are we following? Remember what I said, that anyone who stops learning starts dying. But anyone who continues to learn not only remains young, but also becomes consistently valuable, regardless of his physical capacity. Even if you find yourself in a wheelchair, you will still be making impact in the most unusual ways if you continue to learn. Learning is a continuum. Are we following? Look at the word cultivate. Why am I bringing out these words? Let me tell you the truth. Certain words you think are the way they are not the way you think they are. They mean more. There is more to those words than meets the eye. Look at the word cultivate. Somebody, every time you see cultivate, what you remember is man who eats beans. If you eat beans, you must cultivate your beans and maintain your beans. Woman who eats maize. How many of us did that in primary school in those days? Cultivate. They think is putting something, a seed. But cultivate also means to develop an idea or develop something, to cultivate something. Cultivate, to develop an idea. So a word must not necessarily mean one particular thing. It can mean 3 things. So if you limit your knowledge to one of its meaning, what if somebody uses it in another contextual meaning, in another meaning, which it also represents or has? Go ahead. Commonly used words which have grave importance in writing. So negligible, but with deep grammatical implications. For instance, look at, have you seen these 2 words? Have you bothered to ask yourself, what's the difference between the both? Have you asked yourself? What's the difference between this advice and the other one? S. That's S ordinarily. That's the difference. The former has C, but the letter has S. What's the difference? Sir. Action. I'm trying to get, you're saying something meaningful, yes? He has it. He has it. This is a noun, but this is the action that comes out of this. That's what he's trying to say. That's what he just said. Action. Advice. My father gave me a piece of advice. A noun. But if you say, I advised him, which is now a verb, you're referring to the letter. Can you see the difference now? Is it clear? Oh, you're gone. Ogui Community Hall. That's where we are. Ogui Community Hall. For everyone that is bodily present and absent-minded. I have a teacher those days, as he would be teaching, if he discovers that people are already tired, he will ask, are you here? He will now tell you, we are. He will now tell you the address. So you can come back. Now, so practice, the same is applicable. Practice. In practice, if I'm making a sentence and I say, well, in real practice, we don't do that. In practice, maybe in law or in medicine, say in practice. That means as we are practicing our course, in practice, that is not obtainable. What they are saying is this one. But this other one say, I practiced it. That's the action. I practiced it. Practice. Can you get the difference now? Is it clear? Okay. Pardon? What don't you understand? I should throw more light. Okay. Hello. Pay attention. That you must understand what is called noun. Noun. The word noun. Which is this is something. Remember that a noun is that part of speech. A noun is what? The name of a person, animal, place, or this advice is included in things. Things could be concept, it could be an idea, it could be an attitude, it could be behavioral pattern, it could be what? A system. It could be anything. Are we following? So advice is one of it, something. So it's a noun. This is the noun form of it. But the verb, if I want to use this to practicalize, to say, he advised me, I mean this, but in the use of putting it in a verbal form of action. Action, using it in an active form. This is exactly what I'm going to use. He advised me. This one. But if you say I was given a piece of advice, which is now a noun, this is the one you're referring to. Is it clearer? Do we understand it now? Now, practice and practice, the same thing. This is a noun. This is a verb. We practiced the act of writing. That practiced action is this. Is the letter. But if you say, well, in practice, that means your profession. In practice, it could be clerical, it could be legal, it could be medical, it could be pharmaceutical, and you say, well, in practice, we don't do this. Like the pastors, the clergies, they will say, in practice, you don't wear singlet and allow people access to see you. In practice, as it pertains to the clerics. Are we following? Hello? Now, in law, there are certain things that are not obtainable. Two. So, registers, it differs from profession to profession. Now, what's the next slide? So, do you understand it now? Is it clearer? So, what matters, like I said, is parts of speech you must know. I'm going to take a break as we are rounding off. Now, what's the next slide? Now, look at this. Look at the board. Consider these words and their usage. You're welcome, sir. Consider these severally. In our office, I worked with a senior advocate of Nigeria, a lawyer. And we were in a discussion, and somebody entered and said, Sir, I told him severally, not to do that, and he insisted, and he did it. And my principal said, shouldn't you have known that severally does not mean several times? Wow. When people say severally, do you know what comes to mind? Several times. Is it not? That's not what it means. When you say severally, you mean separately. You've said another thing altogether. You did not communicate. You never communicated the word several times by saying severally. They are two different things. So you must know that, okay, look at the word awfully. There's a song we sing, we say, I stand in awe of you. Who are we referring to when we say that? God, right? But when you turn ordinarily, anybody who knows the use of AWE, we say awe. When you say awfully, your mind will tell you. Standing in awe of somebody, what does it mean? Reverence, respect, right? Awfully, you just tell yourself, this is an adverb. It still means respect. When you use awfully, it means a negative word. Awfully, terribly. It's no longer positive. Awe is positive, but awfully is not. There are two different things. Now, look at the word. Postponed. We postponed the meeting. Yes. I used it. I dealt. Wow. There was a particular lady. She studied English those days in her suit. So we happened to be members somewhere in Port Harcourt. So we used to converse and discuss. We used to talk and we were very good friends. So I was using the word postponed and postponed as the past. I never knew that the word is not postponed. That is, what we'll have is postpone. Post and pone. We have to postpone the meeting. Well, we postponed the meeting. Not we postponed. Wow. I kept flogging that word, and every time I used that word, I was using postponed, postponed, and I was speaking to an English graduate. But he didn't know how to tell me I was wrong. Someday, I don't know, I can't remember what told me to ask her that this is possible that this word is not correct. So I traveled from Enugu, I went to Port Harcourt, and we're in a discussion, and I asked her, please, this word, before I could finish, she said, what is postponed? What do you mean? Where did you get that from? I said, wow. So all this while I had been sitting on the keg of a gunpowder, waiting for explosion. That is how, when we say certain things, some people get embarrassed. But because they wouldn't want to embarrass you, they just keep their cool and allow you. You say another one, the same thing. So the word is postponed, and the past tense is postponed. You add D. Now, instrumentally, for those of us who say, I bought that shirt installmentally. In your heart, you're trying to express that you paid in some count, some number of counts, at some counts, not just once. You don't say instrumentally, that's the wrong English. You say, I bought the shirt, I paid by installments. Installments. Are we following? Are we following? Go ahead. What's the next? Now, before I'll round off, you don't say, I want to round up. I want to round up my message. You say, I want to round off. Before I round off, I want to say this. If you must speak good English, have good command of English, one approach to it is school, education. True. That's an approach. Another approach to it is what? Reading. Books are hooks to success. Remember, you don't say access. I want to access a place. You say access. Access. You don't say success. You say success. Success. The K must be pronounced. You say accept. Acceptable. Accept. Acceptable. You don't say accident. You say accident. That's the right pronunciation. Accident. Are we following? Now, reading is very important. for every one of us. A lot of people have stopped reading because they don't understand. And that's because they stopped reading over a long period of time. Just like the computer. If you learn computer appreciation, for some of us who did computer appreciation those days, you can remember that when you stopped, after some months, so many months, you went back to use the computer. You discover that you are beginning to learn again. Because practice, they say, makes. Can you remember? Practice. What's the number of the subject? What's the number? Singular or plural? Practice, they say, makes perfect. So practice, is it singular or plural? Singular. So makes is the verb. Is it singular or plural? Singular. So the Lord says singular subject equals singular verb and plural subject equals plural. That's why you say practice makes perfect. Are we following? So reading, attending meetings, listening to tapes and CDs, surfing the net, having an English grammar coach. These are ways in which you can learn to improve in your spoken English. Very important. What's the next thing? Okay, you cannot make constructive, impressive, and see. We are in the days of persuasive speeches. As I round off, listen. If somebody has a product to sell, a service to render, or a value to give, let's say the both of you have these services, or a service, the both of you give the same service and you are vendors. Anybody who can make the best of presentation as it pertains to describing the uses of that particular product, I tell you, that person will gain patronage. So we must learn to be persuasive with our speeches. Are we following? So the alphabet, these are the things you must know. You must speak good English. The alphabet, the parts of speech and their antecedents, concord, phrases and clauses, sentence structures, phonetics, phonology. Now see, idiomatic expressions. Now all these things, if you will build your expression, most importantly, there are certain things I'm going to show you in alphabets, which our teachers, most of our teachers weren't intentional at teaching us during those informative age. Parts of speech, very important. Are we still there? Idiomatic expressions and proverbs, parables. Now some bit of literature, figures of speech. Sometimes somebody wants to talk, but the person says, a fruit cannot fall far from the tree. How do they say it? A tree cannot fall. How do they? There's a way. No, not that one. They're trying to say that somebody cannot do what is different from what his father does. It's an idiomatic expression. Hello? That a tree cannot fall, a fruit cannot fall far from the tree. If it falls, it stays very close. They are trying to say that you cannot do differently from what you learned from your father or from your source. That's what is an idiomatic expression. So we have idiomatic expressions, we have figurative expressions, we have proverbial expressions, and we have parabolic expressions. Are we following? Now, so these are the things that help you, but you start from here and you grow into all of this. This is not primary. This is when you must have learned the alphabets, the parts of speech, concord, phrases and clauses, sentence structures, before we begin to talk about phonetics, how best you can pronounce. Thank you. At this juncture, I want to say that who has learned something today? If you know you've learned at least one thing today, raise your hand. Don't patronize me. If you know you learned one particular thing, raise your hand. Let me see. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I'm serious. Okay. At this juncture, I want to hand the microphone. Thank you for listening.
Come on, can we appreciate him? What you do not appreciate, you will not attract. Can you appreciate him? You know, he has been standing for the past 1 hour, dishing out knowledge. And we say, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So we are rounding off. It has been a very eventful one, but it is important that we relate what has been taught to real life. You know, we're here to talk about what you too can speak fluently. And it is an honor that I'll be calling on someone that is going to give us a presentation which is going to be relatable now to us in our everyday life. Now, this person I'm talking about is someone that each time I look at his profile, the first person that comes to mind is Daniel of the Bible, who as a man represented Christ. The Bible said that Daniel will pray 3 times a day, every day. And he also was relevant in 4 different administrations of his time. So he was politically relevant as well, a Christian. So I'm talking about someone that is also replicating the same in this era. I know him as he was one time SCG president, so his political journey did not just start today. It has been a long time. Politically, he's relevant. Career-wise, he's also relevant. I'm talking of no other person than pastor, engineer, honorable, beloved Dan Anike. Can we celebrate him? He is in our midst this afternoon, and we are going to usher him straight because we know he's a very busy man. For him to be here this afternoon, we appreciate his presence and his sacrifice. So he's going to handle us on the topic, the place of communication in church and politics. How you as a politician, how you as a church person can persuasively talk to people and convince them. So it's going to be the last session we are going to have, and we are going to call it a day. So I would like us to keep our attention intact, because all this that we've learned, how to be able to persuasively communicate. Remember, like the first speaker said, that whatever you have as an idea, whatever you have as a knowledge, if you are not able to communicate it, it is not possible for people to buy into it. So he's going to teach us how we can be able to be an effective communicator in the political sphere. Everyone is into politics. In your town union, it is political. And even in the church, there is politics. Thus that we don't have to shoot and kill people. But then politics is about electing people and putting people in position. So we cannot shy away from politics. A time has come for Christians to be able to do rise up in politics, and just like Daniel of the old, can be able to make impact. There is something the Bible always talk about Daniel. He said, each time Daniel professed a solution to the king, the Bible said, and the king promoted Daniel, and Daniel also does what? We promote Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego by making a request to the king. So if we have Christians in the political era, it is going to be a better administration and governance for us all. While they are trying to set up this, I would like you to understand that this is an introduction to the main thing that will still continue afterwards. This is a basic, an introduction, a foundation to the main thing that will still continue afterwards, which we are going to look into after his speech. Hope we are learning this afternoon. Hope we are learning this afternoon. There was something he said when he was teaching. He said that, and I think I've been making that mistake too. He'll say, I'll pay instrumentally. So how do you want to pay? I'll pay instrumentally. Just give me the TV set. It's 250,000. Okay, let me pay 100,000. And every month I'll be paying 50,000 instrumentally. No, you don't pay instrumentally, but you pay by what? By installment. You know, he also talked about severally. I had to Google it. I said severally, and I Googled it and I discovered that severally is what he said separately, independently. Then they came down and said Nigerian English many times. Please, there is nothing like, in as much as Google gave us Nigerian definition of severally, but when it comes to written language, please do not use Nigerian English. You know, a lot of things that he talked about. He also talked about what? Rounding off and rounding up. I think I learned this one way back in 2014 with the instance they gave us, that you round off an activity, you summarize an activity. But as we are seated here, if the police comes and takes everybody here, what did they do? They just did what? They rounded us up. So you round up people, you bundle them into the police van, but you round off, you summarize, you conclude an activity. Are you with me? So a lot of things have been taught, a lot of things have really been shared this afternoon, and I believe that you have gotten and you are still getting basic knowledge, foundation, so that you can effectively communicate to people. You can effectively sell that your idea. You can effectively sell that your vision. Because every leader is a great storyteller. There is no leader that does not know how to paint stories. Barack Obama, which is one of the greatest of all time, was a great storyteller. Can we welcome Pastor Engineer, Honorable, beloved Dan Anike. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a good clap. And let's also give the last speaker a good clap for setting up the stage for this section. I want to apologize for being here now, and I want to also demand on you. I'm not an English teacher. I'm not neither an English professor. I came here to interact with you. So let's just interact. And I might also learn from you, and you might have little to learn from me, a little bit. So I've shared with them. I didn't have a PowerPoint, but I have what I wanted to present. I didn't understand the format of the presentation, so we'll have to do more of interaction. I was asked to speak on the act of persuasion and influence, as we use it, and influence, and the use of persuasive speeches for social change, for pastors and emerging leaders. So how we can use persuasion, how we can add persuasion to our speeches and use it to convey our objective, and not just realizing our objective, but buying over the stakeholders we are communicating to. So speeches, if it is not meant to communicate or to pass information, is noise. Sometimes I will move to science a little bit. So they say noise is a sound of what? Irregular frequency. That's noise. Sound of irregular frequency. But a sound that has a regular pattern and frequency conveys a message. But when it comes, you mix Yoruba, Igbo, Biata, Chingenufo, you will not understand. There's something I spoke now, you don't understand that one. I brought one word from my dialect. So when you begin to conjure speeches that don't intend to convey, it's not achieving the objective. Unfortunately for us, let me also go to the topic. Most contents we see in our Facebook now are just noise. But yet they are pulling cloud, because there are other visual expressions that add to their persuasion. They may not have the message, but they have visual persuasions and vibes. That's what we call it, vibes, that will draw their attention. So beyond the vibes, so how can we learn from all those? I'm not a professor of mass communication, but I've also done a little bit, some master class in communication strategy, more of the communication strategy. I will talk about it. Whatever I know, I will share. And I trust that you will just add it to the much you already know. Just add that little to the much you already know. As I wait for them, so persuasion is all about influence. Persuasion is all about what? Influence. It's about influencing the other party of your belief, of your attitude, of your convictions, of your argument. You use convincing languages and gestures, arguments, reasoning, and emotional appeals to get the third party to go with you. I also I'm a project manager. In fact, I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers one of the knowledge areas of project management is communication management. We also have stakeholders management. Those goes together. So stakeholders, what you want is buy-in. Buy-in. So if you tend to pass information that will not secure you a buy-in, you have failed. So the objective of communication is what? Is buy-in. Even if you want to convert this ultra-modern center, this center is still ultra-modern, but you want to convert it to a more modern building, and you just come with your machine and you just put a big signboard and say ultra-modern building conversion by Enugu State government. Tomorrow is here. And you didn't do the legwork of getting to Guinike to ask them, please, for the next 3 months, you may not be using here because the government wants a befitting what? Ultra-modern hall for the community. It's going to cost us 200 million, but it will cost you nothing. The only thing it will cost you is your time. And after that, we've already secured end users that will be paying you a rent of about 10 million naira a year, and they're ready to pay for 10 years. But that's for you. That's for you. And you share the meat pie and some water, and they clap for you. You've gotten a buy-in. You want to achieve. So buy-in is important in whether you are speaking to your church to win souls, or you are speaking to your constituency to win a seat, or you are speaking to market. I also do business. You're also speaking to your customers, or you are marketing your products. You must also know, you define your objective. Your objective will determine the structure of your message. And the structure of your message will also be determined by the audience. I can sense there are some people who have studied English or mass communication. Your audience is important. Just like in marketing, your people is important. Your competitors is important. Your company profile is important. Your price is important. Your product is important. These are the P's that makes us the marketing. So this also has to do with conveying. So persuasion or persuasive speech is not ordinary. When you relate it to science too, every one of us have mmiri na-ekwo ekwo na mmiri na-asa aso. You understand that one? Mmiri na-ekwo ekwo na mmiri na-asa aso. All of them are water, but they are moved in different what? Different turbulency. Their speed of flow. The speed of mmiri na-asa aso is lower, but the speed of flow of mmiri na-ekwo ekwo is what? Is higher. We call the one that is turbulent, we call it turbulent flows. The other one, we call it laminar. It's turbulent because it moves with force. The other one moves normal. So persuasive speeches are speeches that is backed up with force. And let me tell you, what is backed up is the conviction. The persuasion comes first from what? Conviction. If you are not first convinced, then you cannot convince you only confuse the other. If you are a staunch unbeliever, I just repented, and you're a nominal, you grew up like Jerry as a pastor, your father is a pastor, and you grew up in the personage, and the Lord had mercy on you, and you became a Christian. When you are conveying this, you won't be able to throw examples. I used to have, maybe I'll give examples so that will spice this period. I used to have a brother in NIFES those days as Unitic. He used to be a head of a court group before, I think he's a deputy commissioner of police now. Before he repented, he's from Oka. I think his name is Adibe. When he repented, he will come to bus stand and he will wear, that kind of big boots and big baggy jeans. He used to dress the way he used to dress before. But he comes to the bus stand, and once he comes, he will stagger like this. I say, no, you know me very well. You know the way I used to do. But something touched me. Something touched me. And that guy that touched me is what brought me here. You know, everybody must file up, in single line. But as you walk into your boss, listen to me. This guy is now free. I am free from all the things I've committed, all the girls I've raped, all the people I've sent to hell. I'm free because Jesus set me free. I'm telling you, your own is small. But my own is big. So you will have a better place if you join me. It was so, you can see that in persuasive speeches, you must drop something that somebody will go home with. That message, I still remember his name, that was preached by that our brother Dibe. They call him Masanka or what? That's one name. So it's still ringing bell. And a whole lot of people have repented hearing him. He said, if this guy could stand for Jesus and will stand in the bus stand and in all these rough edges around him, yet he could stand for Jesus, I too could have a space. Hallelujah. So persuasion is important, but we must also understand the science of persuasion. There are three sciences of persuasion, concepts governing persuasive speech. One is the ethos. Ethos has to do with the speaker. Who is speaking? You know, if they tell you my smuro is coming here, just wake up from that and it's coming here. You won't use this all. Because of what? Who is speaking? Who is speaking is important. So one of the ways to also build up an audience for yourself is to build up yourself. So when you build up yourself, invariably you are building an audience for yourself. So who is speaking is important. It's not just about what you are speaking, but about what? Who is speaking. That's why in your village setting, when each time they make a whole of noise and they will say the two people quarrel and they should go outside, and the entire village, I don't know what happened, will now confer among themselves. After they have done that, they will select one man who will know how to convey the truth without hurting anybody. And that man is the man who will tell you the truth and you can't say no. And he will tell you, nah, so by the time they start with the proverb, you know that so who is speaking is important. There are people who will convey things to you. Remember in Things Fall Apart, you hear the Ezodo who comes to Okonkwo and say, this boy calls you father. Do not what? Have a hand in his what? In his death. So who is speaking is important. So the more you build up yourself, the more what? The more you build a profile for yourself, the more you build whether an online virtual audience or physical audience for yourself. Even in your church, there are people who they say you will preach, you will pack your Bible. But there are people they will say you will preach. You know there are three messages that will be preached that day. The one is speaking. The one the Holy Spirit will be speaking to you. The one that you will now hear when you go home. Because that man is so deep in the Lord that every word that comes from his mouth is being interpreted further by the Holy Spirit. So who is speaking is important. So the other one is the message. What is the context of the message? You must also structure our message in a way that what we are speaking relates to why we are there. What we are speaking. Like I was invited to a program, you were there. And I was asked to speak on social something. Social what's that? Social ethics. Big Oyibo in contemporary Africa issues. And I was to speak. I took time and prepared this. And when I came to the event, it became an Igbo cultural. Hey. I said, how will I interpret Hey in social ethics? So the audience was not ripe for that topic. So the message is also important. Your message must be in tune with your what? With your audience. So I have to start panel beating my message. And I now enter the Igbo. and I redefine my social ethics as Onyaya na Wania and Igwebike and Onyelua Orie. I start manufacturing Igbo values. I'll be able to convey what I have in mind. So it's very important that we understand our message. That our message should be apt. Our message should be targeted. So the message is important. Then the other one that is also important is in the ethos is the appeal, the conveyor, the way it's spoken. Our sister Chimamanda Adichie said something in one of the commencement speeches. I think the one he made in Harvard, and it was to speak about truth. She was to speak about truth, and she said, and I can't forget, she said, truth depends the way it's being conveyed. He said, if the truth can only remain truth, not by the context of what is said, but by the way it is what? Conveyed. If the intention of truth is to hurt, yet now truth has been dropped. But if the intention of truth is to heal, then truth have achieved its purpose. So truth could be truth, but the way it's conveyed will determine whether it will remain truth or kage buemma buegine buegbe. So truth, the way you convey